While the clean tech industry is growing at 4 times the rate of the overall Canadian economy, a recent report indicates that Canada's global market share is slipping. Joining us now for more on what this means for the green economy and Canada's green innovations, in Shanghai, China, via Skype, Céline Back. She's president of Analytica Advisors and author of the 2015 Canadian Clean Technology Industry Report. And in Montreal, Quebec, Marie-Hélène Labrie, senior vice president, governmental affairs and communications with Enerchem. That's a company that transforms waste into fuel. And I thank both of you for joining me from both near and halfway around the world. Céline, what brings you to Shanghai? I got to start there.
I'm in Shanghai to talk with policymakers as well as private companies and state-owned enterprises about how Canada and China can work together to address the health and environmental concerns of China and do so putting Canadian clean technology to work in the Chinese economy.
Understood. Very good. Okay, I've got in my hand here 365 pages, your 2015 report. It's very thorough. Let's go through the headlines. What's the good news in the report this year?
Well, the good news is that 9,000 jobs were created between 2012 and 2013, bringing the total number of people working directly in the over 800 firms to 50,000 people. That's as many people as the logging industry, the mining industry, the direct employment in aerospace manufacturing, as well as in pharmaceutical and medical devices. So a very significant accomplishment on the part of the companies that are building clean technology solutions and finding markets for them around the world.
And how about the bad news?
Well, the bad news is that while the global market grew from 2005 to 2013 from $500 billion to close to $1 trillion, therefore doubling over the period, our exports grew from only 11 billion to 12 billion. So our market share shrank from 2.2%, which is close to our fair share of global trade, to 1.3%. And that made us not the world's biggest loser, but the world's third biggest loser in global market share for clean technology. And given that we're investing $1.4 billion in R&D for this industry, which is now the #1 investor in R&D in the private sector in Canada, I suggest that we might want to get better value for the economy for those significant investments that we're making in innovation.
So let me go to Marie-Hélène now for the next question, which is, do you think, or what do you think the federal government could be doing or should be doing to help clean tech companies get a bigger chunk of that market share worldwide?
Well, the challenge is always to go from the R&D phase to the commercial phase, and we're excellent at, with our universities, with the R&D tax credits. We're really good at developing those clean tech innovations. I think what's lacking probably is really the financing chain to really support these innovations, to take them to the lab to the pilot and demo, and then to the demo to the full commercial stage. There's a great program, a great agency financed by the federal government, Sustainable Technology Development Canada, that's really helping bridging the gap from lab to pilot and demo. But then from the demonstration facility to the full commercial stage, there's a lot of financing that has to be done. And Canada has to be a partner with private investors. And I think we should put more efforts into this stage so that these great Canadian clean tech innovations can get to the commercial stage and create all the jobs and be able also to export their technologies.
So that second financing phase that you just referred to, is that a responsibility that you think the private sector is unwilling or unable to perform itself?
So for the financing phase, there are different players that need to step in. Of course, you have the venture capital firms that are key in helping finance those innovations. But at that stage, you also need strategic investors. So large corporations that see potential synergies from a business standpoint with those innovations and can really step in. And maybe in Canada, we don't have companies and large corporations that are interested enough in our clean tech sector. And in the US, we probably see more of that, but this is really key. And of course, then you get into institutional investors, but governments can also provide some support in sharing that risk and sending the right signal to the investors by also helping maybe fund those clean tech funds. There's a great clean tech fund, for example, in Quebec called the Cycle Capital, and the government is one of the investors in this fund. There's also programs such as loan guarantees that the US, the Department of Energy is using, for example, to help also finance with the private sector. So a lot of actors need to work together in order to finance these technologies at that stage.
I want to play a clip for both of you right now. Céline, you'll see this on your screen, and I think Marie-Hélène, you'll just hear this clip. But this is Laura Dawson, who's with the Canada Institute for the Woodrow Wilson Centre. We recently had her on this program when we were discussing the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and she said something that I think may have relevance for the discussion we're having tonight. Let's roll that clip, please.
Canada is a trading nation. We need to sell our things to other markets because we're only 35 million people here. If we can't export goods, if we can't make goods that the rest of the world wants to buy, we're going to be a very small, unhappy economy. Canada does need to be in important Asian markets. We haven't had a serious free trade agreement with any Asian economies except for the South Korean agreement, which is relatively recent. We need to be trading with these economies. Canada is more and more investing in the innovation economy and the services economy, and that's what the TPP is going to help us to do.
Céline, based on what you know about the TPP, do you think it can be helpful to the clean tech sector in terms of getting its wares out there?
Absolutely, because one of the key things that free trade agreements do is actually to bring attention to the business opportunities in those countries and markets. Japan's imports of renewable energy related technologies have been growing at a rate of 23% a year for the last 2 years. So that that market, that country is obviously, because of the aftermath of the Fukushima disaster, considering its energy options very seriously. And the other perhaps smaller economies that are Asian economies that are part of that agreement are of interest to us for a number of reasons, not just for renewable energy, but also for water and wastewater technologies, which is a global market that's growing at 10% a year for the last 2 years. Free trade agreements are very important in that regard. They're not everything that's required, but they're certainly an important step.
I don't know how many of us sit around thinking, I wonder if it's possible to drive my car and fuel it with garbage. But the folks at Enercam think about this, Marie-Hélène, as you know, and we want to play just a few seconds here of one of your videos, and then we'll come back with a question. Let's roll it, please.
Clean energy. Let's take a closer look. Many products we use daily are made from biomass. At the end of their life, some of these products are recycled, but others cannot be and end up in landfills, along with all these good carbon molecules that were originally captured by the biomass during photosynthesis. Our non-recyclable garbage still contains carbon, whose value can be captured when it is chemically recycled to produce clean transportation fuels and advanced chemicals, instead of being landfilled.
Just help us understand this a little better, Marie-Hélène. How do you take garbage and turn it into fuel that could power a car?
So we developed this green chemistry process that basically transformed the solid material into a gas. This gas is composed of carbon monoxide and hydrogen, and this synthesis gas is then interacts with a catalyst to be converted into alcohols, methanol and ethanol. So in 5 minutes, basically the solid material becomes a liquid transportation fuel for our car.
Tell me what you think is cleaner. Driving a pure electric car, like a Tesla or a Volt when it's driving on battery. Full disclosure, I drive one of those, the latter. Or running a car that's got gasoline, but part of that gasoline is made up of biofuels.
Well, two things here. First of all, the electricity needs to be clean. So the The issue right now with electric cars is that a lot of our electricity, if we look at in the US and elsewhere, is produced from coal. So I think we need to green the electricity first in regions that want to use electric cars, because when you look at it from a full life cycle perspective, it needs to be green from the beginning to the end. But of course, yeah, it's very green to use an electric car. Biofuels are great because they reduce the use of gasoline, and today cars don't have to be changed. You don't need to change cars and infrastructure. In order to reduce our dependence on gasoline, we can use up to 15% of ethanol in cars today. And so it's a great opportunity to reduce the use of gasoline today. And it's especially good because you can address the existing car fleet. You don't have to replace. So I think both are really needed. And I think what's more important is to have cleaner transportation solutions from compressed natural gas for truck fleets, for example. We see more and more of that. Transportation, public transportation using electricity, for example, and the personal car, I think we'll have more and more options with hybrids as well. We see also an interest from car manufacturers to use blends of 20–30% of ethanol, because ethanol has a higher octane level, and it provides a cleaner combustion. So I think it's more consumer choices at the end also, but it's greener in all cases.
Understood. But just Céline, maybe you could tell me, since we're here in the province of Ontario, we don't burn coal anymore. We got rid of all our coal-fired generating stations. If you are powering an electrical car with electricity that is created by nuclear or hydroelectric or solar or wind, then presumably that's about as green as you get. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, as long as you're not charging your battery during the peak load of during the day, where we're using natural gas peaking plants, and that would not be as clean as plugging it in at night.
Understood. Enerchem is the company that we're talking about on the program tonight. Céline, how did you find out about them in the first place?
Well, Enerchem is one of the companies that took the trouble many years ago to be part of the research that we started in 2009, and has continued to be an important part of helping to explain the clean technology industry to Canadians. And so we in fact, we're just talking about Enerchem today here in Shanghai, about the opportunities to have the Chinese industrial players engage with companies like Enerchem about waste to energy opportunities.
Marie-Hélène, you're obviously a Quebec company, but I understand you're now into Edmonton with a waste conversion plant there. Why there?
Well, the city of Edmonton was actually looking for a solution to help them increase their waste diversion rate. With recycling and composting, they were already achieving 60%, and they wanted to increase this percentage to 90%. So they had to find a solution to landfill, an alternative to landfilling, and they didn't want to go mass combustion incineration. And there's very few options for municipalities when they want to look at alternative solutions to landfilling and incineration. But there are new technologies, and we got selected as part of this rigorous selection process, and we started working with the city of Edmonton. So we completed the construction of our facility, and we're starting to operate now.
Understood. Now that's the positive side of the story. Céline, I want to get the other side of the story, which is there have been some, I don't know if you want to use the word spectacular, but certainly high-profile failures in this area as well. The cancellation, for example, in Ottawa of the Plasco incineration plant just a few months ago. That was a blow, I suspect, to the movement. How are you dealing with all of that?
Well, in any new industry, there's obviously technology risk, and there certainly is technology risk associated with a plasma gasification process, which is what Plasco is building. My expectation is that we'll see that technology evolve. It may not. It wasn't ready when it needed to be ready in order to meet contractual obligations with the City of Ottawa, and so business must continue. But new industries will always come with their share of technical risk, and one company's change of course is not going to change the course of the industry.
Marie-Hélène, is it a problem for you that in order to get approval for projects that you want to do, you've got to go municipality by municipality by municipality, rather than, say, just get a blanket green light from a province or even from the whole federal government. How problematic is that for you?
Well, there are different ways we're looking at it. Many municipalities are approaching us, and there's enough volume with these municipalities to do a project with them. But we're also partnering with downstream partners who are petrochemical companies and chemical companies that are interested in our products. So we're partnering with them, and they also have access and have partnered with people who have the, the garbage, and we can take a wide stream of garbage as well. So we can really work both ends. So we're developing projects right now in China. We're also partnering with Waste Management in the US, and we have also a partner, AkzoNobel, in Europe. So we really have a wide spectrum of partners we can work with.
Having said that, Céline, are you worried that there's a bit of, well, let's call it poisoning of the well that's taken place because of the wind turbine situation in Ontario? There are a lot of municipalities that might have wanted a veto on having those turbines put up. They didn't have one because there was an overarching provincial Green Energy Act policy. How's that having an impact in the companies that you're dealing with now?
Well, Ontario, I think, has an opportunity to consider how new policies are brought into place and how they affect municipalities. Other jurisdictions, for example, like Spain, gave a benefit to the municipality where new renewable energy projects were being deployed, and those renewable energy projects actually became a source of revenue for municipalities to invest in, fire protection for the community, or new facilities and infrastructure for the community. The industry, clean technology industry in Canada is very, very broad, and certainly it is a blow to have ill will from municipalities for renewable energy projects. But I believe that over time, people will see the link between the sector and really good jobs, particularly employment for young Canadians. 20% of the workforce are people who are age 30 or less, and we'll start to make the connection between, the evolution towards a low-carbon economy and opportunities, as well as global competitiveness, as your previous guest, I think, said very well.
Marie-Hélène, you just told us you were looking at China for future projects. Where else around the world?
So China is a great market for us, and we were there in the fall as part of a trade mission, and we see tremendous potential, and we are in discussions with several partners. Europe is also an interesting market for us. You have to realize that around the world there are 62 countries who have mandated or have targets for biofuels content, so to blend the minimum content of biofuels in the conventional transportation fuel pool. So there's tremendous opportunities because also garbage is an issue around the world. So I would say that pretty much the world, we're looking at pretty much the world because on both the waste issue and the opportunity we provide in terms of producing the biofuels, there's demand around the world.
And in my last 30 seconds here, Céline, how much do you think federal leaders get it, the message that you're trying to pitch here?
Well, it's just like anything that's new. We're going to be speaking to individuals who are elected, or individuals who will be running for elected office, to explain that this is an industry that could very soon employ 100,000 people, that represents the potential for tens of billions of dollars in exports. And Rome wasn't built in a day. I think that as people get to know the individuals like Marie-Hélène who are working in the companies, the solutions that they're bringing, that one thing will lead to the other, and we'll get to know the industry and what it can do for all of us.
Understood. Sending back Analytica Advisors, the author of the Clean Tech Industry Report for 2015. It's good of you to join us half a world away in Shanghai, China. And Marie-Hélène Labrie, Senior VP, Government Affairs and Communications, Enerchem in Montreal. Lovely to have you on the program tonight as well.
Thank you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit supporttvo.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.